Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm the host, and today I have with us Gut Instinct Kombucha. Tom Hobson is the founder and co-owner, and he is from Woolgoolga, Australia. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks, Justin.
I hope I got the name right. We were talking about the name beforehand. I think I got it right. Woolgoolga.
Yeah, mate, that's the one.
So tell us a little bit, Tom, about yourself and how you got into the kombucha business and your background. Just, I guess, start at the beginning and tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yeah, mate, so basically I've just, my family and I have always been pretty conscious about our health and being fit and active, and I was actually teaching in Borneo for a few years, and I decided I wanted to start a business because I didn't want to work for someone else anymore. But I found myself just constantly sort of almost preaching to the kids about, having a healthy diet and, this sort of stuff. And my girlfriend at the time, she was Korean, and her mum actually, I lived with them, and her mum taught me how to make kimchi and fermented chilies, and I sort of felt the benefits and saw them and started to learn a bit more about it. And at that time I moved back to Australia, and it turned out Mum was making kombucha in little jars in the kitchen, and I thought, all right, maybe this is something I could do. So I just started, playing around, trying different, getting berries from the farms around here and different fruits and things like that, and trying to find some flavours and getting people to try them. And yeah, eventually I found a couple of flavours that turned out to be pretty good, and it just sort of snowballed from there, I guess.
What year was this that you started Gut Instinct, basically?
So I moved home at the end of 2014, so pretty much a bit over 4 years ago I started, and pretty much to the day, well, it was April or May of 2015 I got it into my first shop. So it took me from sort of January to April, May to sort of come up with some kombucha that was pretty good, and get labels and all the other stuff, and come up with a bit of a plan for, is this actually going to be a business that's worthwhile doing and not just a hobby? So yeah, so it's been going for a bit over 4 years now, and it's been sort of growing steadily ever since. So
now, previous to this, were you in business of any sort, or is your family entrepreneurs? I mean, it's a big step to say, I don't want to work for anyone else. Was it something that your parents have done, or friends, or where did that come from? Or is it just something you're like, I don't want to?
No, I mean, both my parents were probably risk averse. My dad was just a government employee, but did quite well in the timber industry, and Mum was a travel agent. And I guess for them, not sure about your story in terms of your folks, but it's probably a bit of a concern for them, but they were very supportive and helped me out a lot when I first moved back to Australia, and yeah, so I don't personally have a lot of people that have done it, but I met a couple who live across the road who basically started they've got a design business and started it at the same time. So it's been really awesome to catch up with them each week and watch their business grow, and they're becoming leaders in their field of passive housing, which is a whole different story, but really a cool thing about living healthy life and having healthy environments to live in. So, being able to share ideas and, the failures and successes going as we encounter, it's been really cool,
Yeah, it's amazing. And I really do love what's going on with kombuchas here in the United States. So, I mean, what kind of flavors do you have, and where can people find your products, which your website and as well as your social media handles?
Yeah, so I think kombucha is, as opposed to the States, it's massive over there. I follow quite a few people on Instagram, and I know I've met people, and and Australia is really heading that way. There's some big companies, big players that have come into the market, such as Coca-Cola's bought one of the companies, Frucor owns a kombucha company. But, I mean, I guess personally, my brand is all about, I started out, I basically have two core flavours, and I'm sort of working on an extra one or two, but I have a ginger and lime kombucha and a passion fruit one, and they originally started out, we just grew them in my father's garden. We grew organic ginger, he had lime trees in the backyard, he had a passion fruit vine, and so now the lime's from an organic farm just nearby where I live, and he's growing passion fruit for me, and I get the passion fruit currently from up in Queensland, but and the ginger also from Queensland, but I'm working with a guy to get that locally as well, because obviously that's really important to me, and being sustainable, and as well as creating amazing products. But yeah, if you're keen to check it out, it's the website is www.your-gut-instinct, and yeah, I'm not sure about handles for Facebook and
so
Instagram.
It's at Gut Instinct. Is that correct? Gut Instinct Kombucha.
Gut Instinct Kombucha. Yeah.
And so
the Instagram, which is where I'm focused now.
Yeah, I guess for some reason that they nickname it handles here in the U.S. I'm not sure why. It reminds me of in the United States, they used to, each truck drivers that used to go across the United States used to have handles, and for whatever reason, and I could be like White Ghost or something, or a Prairie Dog or some made up name. So I guess that's where the term comes from. But so tell us a little bit about how you came up with the name and your logo, and where all of that came from, because I think the name is phenomenal. I mean, it makes complete sense with kombucha, considering it helps give you a healthy gut. But I also want to ask you a question on the health benefits of it, because you're very into it and it's important to you. But so how did you come up with the name first, and then what is all the healthy things that kombucha does, and why health means so much to you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's interesting because probably 6 months ago, I like most entrepreneurs, probably I go through notebook after notebook, and I found the one when I first started, and I had a whole page of names, and Gut Instinct was somewhere around the middle of that page. And I guess the logo and the name, the circle, sort of part of that was, yin and yang and the circle of life, but also to represent the gut itself, balance with the different colours in the logo. And but the name itself, I guess, obviously it's about gut health, but and sort of at the time I didn't realise, but the gut's influence on the brain, or the gut-brain connection, and there's a reason there's phrases like go with your gut, or I've got that gut feeling, because generally there's a reason we feel good or bad, or whatever the emotion is about something, not in our head but in our gut. So sometimes it's easier said than done, but following that intuition, and that's a big part of how I live my life, is trying to engage with people about that I feel good about, and that I feel that are authentic and on a similar path to me, and that's what I want my brand to be. I want it to be authentic. I want people to be able to engage with me as the owner of the company, but also my product, and make them feel good. And sorry, I can't remember what the other part of the question was.
No, it's all good. No, because I tend to compound questions, so I'm sorry, because my brain works fast sometimes, and I get all excited. I'm like a little kid jumping full of energy when I get behind the mic and do these podcasts. But I think I asked you about the health in particular, and how has it changed your lifestyle? I mean, you're in health food, and you're probably lived a healthy lifestyle before, I'm guessing, if you got into kombucha. But what is it that is important to you about the health aspect in the lifestyle? I mean, we talk about that a lot in the United States, so I'm not sure if it's the same in Australia, but how people are living healthier lives. So I didn't know if that's something that meant a lot to you, and you talk about being authentic. I'm just wondering, you obviously got in the business because you were living a healthy lifestyle and wanted to share that with everyone else. So how does it affect you?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, my family and I, we've always been, really active, which was probably our generation, 20, 30 years ago. As kids growing up, it was always just, you go swimming in the river nearly every day in summer, and you ride the bikes, and, Dad would take us swimming training, and he still swims every morning down at the beach here in Woolgoolga, and, we have like healthy green juices and stuff like this. So it's all, eat real food, not packaged and processed junk, and, so yeah, that's always been a part of it. But then one of the big triggers was for me when I came home, and my auntie, who I was very close to as a kid, she was at my parents' place, and I didn't realise, but apparently she'd started drinking quite heavily. Like every day she'd drink a bottle of wine or more, and she came over to Mum and Dad's, Mum's sister, and Mum started her drinking kombucha, and she hadn't drank any alcohol since she'd been there. And so Mum's like got her set up, so she started making kombucha and went back to where she lives, and she hadn't drank until, this was like literally when I first started the business, and then she went for a few months and hadn't drank any alcohol again. It was like,
oh wow,
because I mean, and it's done the same for me too. I've always, like most people, in Australia especially, it's a real cultural thing to just get on the grog every weekend. That's what you do. So I've always struggled with, I don't want to drink so much, but it's almost the norm. But then your body sort of almost craves. It comes to Friday, you deserve a beer. So, but when I started drinking kombucha, that was the biggest thing for me. Was I didn't feel like drinking near as much anymore. I'd still drink a little bit, but barely, nowhere near as much. And so it was. And my understanding is the gut bacteria is going, we want more of the good stuff. We don't want the bad stuff anymore.
Yeah. So
it's not even a conscious thing. It's just your body's saying, this is what we want. So, I mean, there's more studies starting to happen about kombucha and the health benefits. But basically for me, it's like, I've seen things like with my auntie, people come up to me, mate, when I do an event or a market. Oh, I used to have different gut issues, and now they've improved so much since I've been drinking their kombucha and things. So for me, that's what it's all about. I drink it every day because I love drinking it, but when you hear other people saying it's helping them in some way, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I drink it a lot myself all the time just because of my gut and needing balance in there, and I have sensitivity to all weird sorts of stuff, potatoes and gluten and all of that stuff. I've become just very sensitive to it, not only from my stomach being imbalanced, but my skin will actually peel off my hands pretty badly, and it's just, so having my gut in balance with the kombucha and then staying away from white potatoes and gluten, it's pretty amazing. But that being said, in the United States, we've really just butchered gluten in general, because I can go over to Europe and eat bread all day long and I don't have the same allergic reaction, but that's here nor there. So it's one of those things where we as human beings have really thrown off the balance in our bodies, and the kombucha helps bring that balance. So I'm always like, it's awesome, because I thought it was so big here. I didn't understand that everywhere else was starting to catch on to it, and seeing your website and finding you on social media, I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty awesome. Like, there's other places are getting this, and I think it is a better way of life. And to go back to what you were saying about alcohol, I think a lot of people are starting to feel that way. And in the United States, we're starting to see kombucha bars pop up, or bars that do like ciders. We had one of them on our episode, and they do, alcoholic ciders, but they also do kombuchas because people want to go out, but not everyone wants the social scene of drinking anymore, and they have the urge to go out on weekends or at night with friends, but they're like, I don't need to tie one on and get drunk. I can have a kombucha and I can actually feel better and balance my body. So I think it's in the United States is becoming this huge cultural thing and shift, because I can tell you when we're in our universities and we're young kids, like that was what it was. Thursdays through Saturdays, sometimes even Wednesdays, depending on what it was. It was they call them happy hours, but everyone's out drinking 2:00 in the morning, feel like crap the next day, trying to get through Friday, and out again on Friday night, trying to get through Saturday, out again on Saturday night, and then just trying to recover on Sunday. But we're seeing this shift where kombucha is really becoming that replacement. There's something there, and people can go out and drink it, and they can go out and have a good time and still feel good about themselves. And in some ways, like you're saying, there's, I don't know, I would call it my brain reacts similarly when I'm drinking it, but I don't have the hangovers, and I don't have, the stuff that goes on if I drink too much of it. It's okay, like I'm balancing my body, and I still feel good about doing it, and I'm still getting the same high, for lack of a better term, as alcohol without the depressive aftermath. So I think it's pretty cool for mental health also. And so I really like what you're doing. One of the things I really thought was awesome, and it's starting to catch on here, but I really liked it about you, is that you actually have kombuchas on tap.
Yep.
And is that something you're doing so you can get into bars, or it's easier for people to have, or restaurants? So explain that to me a little bit, and how you actually produce the kombuchas. Do you put them in bottles? Do you put them in cans? Are you putting them in kegs? And where are you doing all this?
Yeah, so there's a range of reasons, that I put it on tap. But, one, it's a lot easier for me to put it in a 19-litre keg than bottle. I sell it in 330ml bottles, 750ml bottles, and then on tap in kegs. So, of course, you still need to clean and sanitize kegs. But I guess, part of the ethos of Gut Instinct is about doing the best for yourself, but doing the best for the planet, but also for the customer or the stockist who's selling the stuff. So my main business is wholesale, so I'll go and install a machine that you can have kombucha on tap, and then I'm not sure, I'm assuming the terms growlers and squealers, like the 1 and 2 litre bottles, so people can buy one of them and then refill them, so they're not, then there's no single-use bottles or whatever to go back into landfill or recycle, which costs quite a lot of money as well. But also it gives so most of them are in sort of cafes or restaurants, but a lot of those are licensed too. So it gives the owner of that venue the opportunity. They can, make a mocktail out of it. They can make a cocktail out of it. There's a backpackers here in town. He made kombucha cocktails. So basically, my passion fruit kombucha with some Bacardi, some strawberry, some mint, and they were awesome, mate. They were so nice. So, so it's, I guess that side of it, if it was my cafe, I'd be like, that's a cool thing to have in my shop, because we've got this image of the beach, from a beach nearby here, and we put Gut Instinct kombucha. It's raw, organic, and authentic, I think it says on there, and it's a cool sort of piece that people can come in and see. But to then sort of have that sustainability, but this sort of cool thing that you can go in and it's almost like a that correspondence with alcohol, because you can pour it out of the tap, and so it's a similar thing in that sort of way, but it's good for you. So, but it also gives that option that if someone does want to have a drink that's healthier than a sugary cocktail or a beer or whatever, or a cider maybe, then they can have kombucha with a shot of gin in it, or something like that.
And so, do you do all the production and stuff yourself, and do you have employees?
I've just started employing a young fella that's been awesome, because I've, as you probably know, Justin, it's your work to reflect back on being a school teacher as opposed to how much I work now. It's worlds apart, so pulling massive days. So now I've got a guy that's helping me with production so that I can start focusing on selling. And he's, yesterday we literally worked 12 hours straight and didn't stop, because he's just happy to work with me. So I think it's probably not easy to find someone like that. It's easy enough when you're doing it for yourself, but yeah. So I've also got a designer that I can basically just call on and say, I want you to, he designed the wraps for the kegerators, or, decals for the fonts, or, business cards. So, and a guy that delivers for me and things like that. So as such, I haven't really had employees up until recently, but there's been a lot of other people that have had massive input into my business that I'm so grateful for,
I mean, it's so incredible. I mean, just the whole experience, and being able to 4 years ago come up with a concept and then have it grow and now be bringing it in. And I actually, I really love the concept of people having the growlers and the squealers, because then they just need to fill it and come back, and it encourages them to go back and refill it again versus just throwing it out. And that's, I think I've only heard of actually one or two people in the United States so far that actually have it on tap, and where people can go in and refill a growler. But it makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? And why not do it and not put stuff in landfills and garbage and recycling? Because I know in the United States we produce a lot of trash, and we don't reuse things a lot, and we don't encourage it. And so to do that, you're getting a customer that comes in over and over again buying your product, and then for you, it's someone coming in over and over again buying the kombucha from that person selling it. So that seems incredible to me. And you mentioned you have someone do your delivery, so you don't do the deliveries yourself, I assume, or is it something you do?
I still do in the local area, but yeah, I've got a few in Sydney, which is like probably to drive from Woolgoolga to Sydney is maybe 6 or 7 hours or something like that. But between here and there, I've got a refrigerated courier guy that basically picks it up, and he sort of goes 4 hours south of here. So there's a few places with it on tap that I'll visit every now and then, but he just basically takes the kegs down there, picks up the empty ones, brings them back for me to clean and sanitize, and if they need growlers and squealers, he just takes them down as well. So yeah, like I said, I've had, back when I first started, you asked the question earlier about were my parents or anything in business? No, they weren't, but one particular friend of theirs, I remember, he used to train people in a government program who wanted to start a business. It was called New Enterprise Incentive Scheme. And I used to meet him, once a week, and we'd just go over, all right, and he sort of helped me create a business plan. And so people like that, cost me a few coffees and a couple of dinners for them, but was so valuable, and
just being able to ask for help and having someone there for you, I think, and a lot of people are too scared to ask for help. So I think that's so important.
Definitely, mate. probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned is be open to advice and try and seek out people who have done it before. I mean, I didn't know he was a big numbers man. He was like, you need to work out what something's going to cost you and how much you're going to sell it for, and are you actually going to make money? Because, I look around and I see some businesses and you sit in a coffee shop, mate, and there's, there might be 10 people in there over an hour period and they've got 3 or 4 staff on. It's not rocket science to work out the amount of coffees you sell is not even going to cover your wages, let alone all the rest of it. But by having a simple plan at the start, well, that's going to become pretty obvious pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so many people do that. I mean, I'm glad he did that, because that's most entrepreneurs and we have a saying, at least when I work with people, I'm like, and they're 2 years in, I'm like, if you don't have the numbers worked out and you haven't figured it out and written out on paper and gotten your cost accounting down and where you need to make money and how many things you need to sell and cover your overhead, you're one of those businesses that falls apart within the first 2 years, like so many entrepreneurs do, because they don't actually know how much things cost, how much to sell it for, how much to pay people, and they sort of just rush in without putting the numbers on paper or writing a proper plan. Yeah. And even though you don't need to follow the plan 100% and life changes and you have to maneuver and pivot as a business owner, but the thing is you still have to do the exercise and know where the money's going, because it'll be time before you know where you're upside down and losing money and you can't figure out how to get out of it. And you'd rather be ahead. You're better off at zero than in a negative, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it takes money and it takes time, It's, as you know, mate, to actually start a business, if you want to put everything into it, with my business, I decided I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start it, but I'm going to go full on at it. So you sort of, I'd budgeted to do that because I knew I wasn't, possibly, if it didn't work, I might not make any money for a year. So you're sort of forfeiting whatever your wage is, 50 grand for the year, plus whatever money you put into the business. So it does cost money. So you don't want to be going into it going, oh, well, I'll just start selling flowers and hope people buy them. Or, it does take that forethought and what are things going to cost you and how much am I going to be able to make out of that? What's my time worth? How many people don't? I sort of, when I first started, that was a big lesson. I sort of valued my time greater than it probably was worth, so that if things go wrong or things take longer than they should, then, that was sort of built into the product price, so that I know I'm actually making money when I'm around there for 12 hours straight bottling or cleaning or whatever.
And so I'm going to ask a question then. I mean, did you borrow money to start the business, or you're like, I have the money, I'm going to start it with myself and work myself, and then that way I don't need to be in debt? I mean, in the United States, so many people take on all of this debt before they start a business, and it becomes this hindrance. And while they may be able to grow a little bit faster at the beginning, it often becomes a hardship in the long run. So is that something you did? And I don't know how it works in Australia, but they do a lot of small business loans here in the United States.
Mate, money's a lot harder to come by now than it was 4 years ago, but all over the world. But I've always lived within my means. I've never been one to go and use a credit card and spend money I didn't have. So I've always been reasonable at saving but spend money to enjoy life as well. But I'd kind of planned for. I'd actually started a website around health and sort of nutrition. Probably, when would that have been? 2013, I think. I just went for a holiday for 2 weeks in the Philippines surfing and just spent the whole time building a website, right? So I'd planned, and at that time I was like, all right, but in the next year or two, I'm going to stop this job, and I'm going to have enough money so that, like I said, I could put everything into it for a year or so, and worst case scenario, I forfeit that year's wages because I haven't got a job, and it might cost me 10 grand or whatever it would, but thankfully I was able to get help off a lot of different people that had input in different areas of my business, like the guy I mentioned before, and a guy who'd helped me with invoicing and all this other stuff. And I sort of I started out just getting recycled bottles and removing the labels and sterilising them, relabeling them, so my mum still says, oh, I still remember you down there at 2 o'clock in the morning, bottles clinging around, so whereas I feel like that was the hard way of doing it. The easy way is I'm going to borrow a bit of money and buy pallets of bottles, spend a couple of grand. But my idea was I had the time at that point, so I did those things. I built signs for a market stall and this sort of thing instead of buying it, and then as it grew, I could then use that money to start buying bottles and start investing in different areas so that I grew my business. So I didn't obviously make a lot in the first year, but then sales started to pick up and it went from there.
And so, I mean, how many places are you in around Australia? How many places serve your kombucha? And obviously they do it in retail, like in the bottles as well as the kegs. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so currently I think there's probably around 80 venues that have my product. From some of them sell the 330 ml bottles, some sell those in the 750 ml bottles, some have the kombucha on tap. There's probably at the moment now somewhere between 20 and 25 that have my kombucha on tap, I think, and that ranges from a couple down in Sydney, basically up the east coast, to just north of where I live, to another sort of seaside town. But generally my main business is through, I think in the States you call them whole food stores. It's like there's a particular chain in Australia called Go Vita Australia, and they sort of sell, like cosmetics and, organic products and, like mueslis and all this sort of stuff. So I have it in a whole bunch of those, and they all have it on tap, and it's quite successful. So, but now just starting to move into more bars and restaurants, and like I was saying before, have that option of giving the venue a bit more opportunity to make a bit more money by sprucing it up a little bit, and maybe putting some mint or lime or some sort of garnish in it and selling it for a little bit more, or making a cocktail out of it, and that it gives them the opportunity to make quite good profit margin, but also obviously providing the customer with a great product that they enjoy.
I think that's an awesome idea, and like even maybe like a little recipe guideline book, because you mentioned the passion fruit with the alcohol and the beach and all that, the passion fruit kombucha. So I think that's, I mean, there's probably so many things you could do with kombucha. I didn't actually think about it, but there's probably all these different like recipes and bar mixes, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, that you can use kombucha with. And so I don't know if that's something, but it just came to mind that'd be really cool to have something to hand out like that and do something like that. I know in the United States that's become quite popular with food and stuff like that. People supply recipes when they supply the products, but I didn't, or alcohol, but I've never thought about it with kombucha, but it would make sense for sure. That being said, what are your future goals for the company, and where do you want to grow? And you mentioned more bars and restaurants. Is that your focus right now?
Yeah, so sort of back to what you said, we've literally just gone through a whole rebrand. So basically, I think it was end of January, early February, we've just sort of got new labels on the bottles, new wraps for the kegerators, a whole new look. This sort of the image of the local beach that's on the kegerators, and sort of that summery, cool, healthy sort of. Hopefully, that's the message it's getting across, and attracts people to want to drink the product, because that's sort of what we portray, and I guess authenticity and raw, organic, and all that sort of thing. So from that, we've sort of made some different signage and sort of table cards and things. But then moving forward, sort of to freshen it up over the next 3 to 6 months, then we will introduce and take those table cards out and hopefully add some mocktail or cocktail recipes that people can put on their tables at restaurants.
So do you literally mean then there'll be cards for the bartenders, or is it something you see that you'll put with the kegerator when people refill their growlers that they can take with them so they can take home and do recipes? How do you sort of envision that going, just for clarity for the audience?
So more just for restaurants or bars, just to have on a table, so that it's sort of sitting there when they sit down to have a meal or have a drink, and they can just see on one side it'll just have a picture of Gut Instinct Kombucha, and then on the back it might just have cocktails, and then it might have the one I explained earlier, and then there might be another one with the other flavour. So as such, I probably steer away from having flyers and things that you can take away, because I've done it in the past, and I don't think they get read a lot of the time. It's probably a bit of a waste of a resource. So basically have a little bit of information there, not too much, at the place where they can purchase it, so that customers understand the product. And then if they want more information, then they can go to the website or have a look on social media and find that out.
Yeah, I think that's actually an excellent point, is a lot of people do waste money on flyers or take-home stuff for people, and people just set it down and then never look at it, and then the next time they see it, it's when they're throwing it away. And with information technology and social media and websites so easily accessible from cell phones and stuff, I think it is a much better resource for people to go to learn things like that. So from here, where do you go? I mean, you're going into restaurants. I mean, where do you hope to grow out of Australia, or is it something you have a lot more room to go in Australia? So, I mean, how do you envision that, and sort of what are your goals for your company the next 5 to 10 years?
I think there's still a lot more room to grow in Australia for sure, mate. It's I've literally just taken on a distributor in my local area, and they're going to start taking over some of the stockists that I currently have, but they're also hopefully picking up some new ones. But also, I'm not sure if you know of the geography of Australia, but there's another. So basically, where I live is about three or 4 hours south of the Queensland border, and then the distributor I have has a territory that goes up about another hour, and then there's another distributor that goes to the border and meets this one, and they're just taken on my product. So all up around that area is Byron Bay. Have you heard of Byron Bay?
Yes.
Before? Yeah. So up around that area, I'm literally I sent my first pallet up there last week for this distributor, Bid Food. So I'm going to go up there, go around with the sales reps and see how many stockists I can pick up there. So I know there is a company up there called the Butcher of Byron, which has got a pretty strong foothold, but I've been told my product's a fair bit better than theirs. So I'm looking forward to getting up there, and it's my goal's not to become some global company, because I see other companies doing it, other kombucha companies, and I'm sure they're doing well, but I mean, how much better do you want to get bigger, and how much more money is it going to be worth? And also a really important thing is the product itself. I mean, there's a couple of beers in Australia that started out as craft breweries, and their beer is not the same as it used to be. They've expanded dramatically, and they're sort of nationwide now, and and having their beer a couple of years ago to now, there's no comparison. So, it's not easy, and I know other kombucha companies are doing it too. They're not doing it the same. They're not doing it authentically. So if you want to get to some massive scale, you can, but it's extremely expensive and labor intensive to have authentic kombucha produced with real, natural, raw ingredients, as opposed to using a kombucha concentrate, adding some sort of natural flavors and essences and forced carbonating. It's a different product, and it's great that those products are out there for people who want to drink and think they're being healthy, but that's not who I want to be and where I want my brand to go.
Yeah, I love that, actually, and you're staying true to yourself, and we see that in the U.S. as well. People try to expand, and then they start cutting corners to make things to produce more faster, or, they go from small batches to large batches, and they lose quality, and that's for food and beverages, and it's just, At some point, like, you're okay being a small to medium company, but you start pushing that really large threshold and you start cutting corners, you start needing massive equipment, you start losing the ability to keep an eye on things the way you used to, and products do suffer. And then they often go, they start putting preservatives in them or artificial ingredients because they want longer shelf life, because profitability becomes so important because you're massively producing it versus just getting control of the quality and making sure that's maintained. So I think it is important while we talk about it on this episode, because so many people have these lofty dreams of being, like you said, going and being a global company and growing. But what they don't realize is the sacrifices made. I mean, it's not only a personal sacrifice, and for what, and how much more money do you need? I'm not saying we shouldn't strive for money or goals or things like that, but what I am saying is you want to weigh the options, and staying true to the quality and things like that is really, really important.
Definitely. And I think it's, of course, we're doing it for money. That's what makes the world go round. That's the world we live in. But like you say, how much, the way I look is, how much money do I need? I've got a really good life. I live by the beach. If I want to, I can go and eat out. I don't want for a lot, but I also, part of it is a financial decision. Do I want to spend a lot of money and expand a heap to probably, have an inferior product, but also the headaches that go with it, and is it going to make me a ton more money? Well, I don't know. Maybe it will, but maybe it won't either. But then what are you going to do with that anyway? So,
yeah, and expansion costs cash flow. People suck up a lot of cash in their companies if they try to grow too quickly, and you tie up a lot of cash, and then you take on debt that you normally wouldn't take on if you want a loan, and it's just, it has to be organic, I feel like. And when you rush into it and you try to grow too quickly and you do things like that, you lose the quality of your product. You lose the loyalty, I feel like, by a lot of customers because of that quality difference, the ones that got you there. And while you may make a lot of money short terms, your brand doesn't stay around very long. I feel like after that point, in a lot of cases, it either gets bought by another company and it's just another brand in the line, which is okay. People make money on doing that, so I'm not against making money in any way. I think it depends on who you are and what your goals are in life, and then that's how you live. If someone said to me that wasn't an entrepreneur, I'm good where I am and money's bad and I don't need it, I'd be like, well, you need to figure out your life and balance your life. But when we start making money as entrepreneurs, we get to make that choice, and that's the beauty of it. So the ability, like you're saying, is you're making money, you're in a good spot, you're growing the way you want to, that's authentic to you. And so you don't have to do it a different way other than the way that you want to. And that's one of the things, really, what I love about being an entrepreneur, and I really like working for myself, is that I can do it at my own pace. I can go the directions I go. We can grow with our customers that come in and listen to them, but we also get to choose how much of our life we get to, do. Do I get time with my family? Of course. And I get to make those decisions, most of the time, and focus on the business without, if I felt like you grow too big, on some cases that's outside your comfort level, then you're giving up other important things that make you successful for money, like time with your family or time to yourself or mental health and things like that.
Definitely.
Being healthy for me, I like exercising. I like living a healthy lifestyle. So eating whole foods, like you said. So if I get too caught up in things and then I'm on the road all the time and I'm not balancing it out, next thing you know, I'm eating at restaurants and I'm not eating very well and I'm, not watching what I consume or put into my body. And that's not, that doesn't work for me. So I constantly have to find balance. So I appreciate you sharing that for sure. So what have been some of the hardships for you to grow this business? I mean, if there was, 3 things you can name the hardest parts of doing it, what would they be?
Yeah. Sure. Can you say that again? Sorry, mate. A call came in, but it didn't cut us off by the look of it.
No, it's okay.
Just say that last bit again.
No, I said, so what are the 3, if you could name 3 hardships you've had building your business, what would those be?
I mean, where would I start? I mean, I think there's sort of the hardest thing, I guess, is not knowing, and sort of how do I go about this? What do I need to do if I want to sell kombucha? What do I actually need to do here? Oh, so to understand, you got to go and get permission off the food authority. You got to do, all this sort of paperwork. Oh, all right. What about, so the hardships for me was that not knowing and then having to somehow get that knowledge. If I want to put a product on the shelf, what's the best way of doing that? Am I going to put it in this size bottle, that size bottle? If I design a label, are people actually going to buy it? All right, now that I've got this product, how do I actually get people in a shop to put it on their shelf? Yeah. I've got to go in and talk to them, how do I do all that sort of stuff to then sort of growing it like that? Where do I buy bottles? I can buy 50 bottles from the local shop, or I can get pallets somewhere. So that, to me, that was all the stuff that you probably don't. For example, like to buy a pallet of, to work out to buy a pallet of 330ml bottles. It's not just a matter of going online and clicking, I want that. That I can't even imagine how many phone calls backwards and forwards and with different suppliers until I finally found one that you can actually send me pallets, and then how do I get those pallets from Brisbane to Woolgoolga? And so to me that's the not necessarily the hardest thing, but the most time-consuming thing, just going through all those processes. Rebranding. All right, want to rebrand, made a decision probably September, October last year to rebrand. Go and have a meeting with one designer, didn't like it, went and had a meeting with another one. This guy went and had another one, spent $3,000 and came up with some rubbish, and it's like, but imagine how much time all that takes, Justin. Then I finally find one. It's like, hallelujah, it's like, this guy's awesome, and he turned stuff around quickly for me, and at a reasonable price. But to get to that point, it's not just, I know this guy, get him to design a label or whatever. There's so much involved in all that sort of stuff, and I think I was sort of explaining it to this guy who's working for me, and the amount of money I earn from bottling this 1,000 litres of kombucha far outweighs what I'm paying him. But But all that time and effort and money and all the rest of it that went into actually to what the product and that brand is now, that's why it's worth that amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, and I love it, and I like pulling the threads out of things. And I mean, one of the most important things, like if I look at it and I take a step back as an entrepreneur, the thing that happens, and and I majored in business, and I went and got a graduate degree in business as I was an entrepreneur because I thought I needed to learn more, and I was thirsting for more knowledge. But really what I learned out of all of it was that there's nothing like hard knocks. And while someone may recommend someone to do business with or recommend someone to do marketing with, if it doesn't mesh with me or my personality or the way I envision my goals as an entrepreneur, then it doesn't work. And there's really nothing like learning it yourself, the school of hard knocks, going through and falling down and learning as we go as entrepreneurs. And everyone has to go through it. It's not like something that I can pass on to someone. I can have, my stepdaughters involved in a business or have them learn how to be entrepreneurs, but they've got to learn how to be an entrepreneur on their own from my experience. I can't give them what I have because being an entrepreneur is exactly what you said in so many levels, is that it's got to be true to me. And if I'm going to succeed, I can't copy someone else because that's not going to work for me because everyone's different. And then on top of it, if I don't go out there and do it and keep learning my lessons and learning those hard knocks and getting knocked down every once in a while, and having a lot of frustrating days along the way, it's there's no where I learn, and I've got to have that time, and I've got to be willing to do it in order to learn. And I like that you keep going. I think that that's so huge that you talk about how this is what you want to do, and you keep focusing on a goal. And they're small steps. They're not these huge, ginormous goals. They're little things to get you along the way, like the new distributor up in Queensland and things like that help your business go. And a lot of entrepreneurs could learn from that. We try to set such lofty goals sometimes as entrepreneurs. We get lost on the little steps it takes to get there, and we find failures and frustrations. Well, it's sort of what you said. What can I do today to be successful tomorrow? Or successful in the long run? How many things do I need to get done? What does it mean? And I really love that you talked about going on the road with the distributors and training them as well. I'm jumping back a few conversations, but I think it's so important that you as the owner and the person involved in the business are the one going out there, because no one has the passion about the business like you do. And so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Justin, you made, is about just taking small steps. And sort of, I guess, for me, it's never really entered my head that I wouldn't be successful in this business. And so somehow that just gives me motivation to do something every day. Like as an entrepreneur, there's always something on the list, right? So, but it's easy to just be lazy and not do anything. But if you know that every little thing you do is hopefully you've got a list that actually has things that are going to impact somehow. Whenever you do any of those things, you're moving towards your goal, whatever the goal is. If 10 years down the track, it might be to have, for me, 500 stockists or whatever. That's not necessarily my goal, but what am I going to do today that's going to eventually get me there? Of course I'm going to get knocked back. If I go to 10 shops to try and get them to sell it, one of them might only put it in there. None of them might. But if I go to 10 tomorrow, all 10 of them might. But understanding that even though those 10 didn't want to, it doesn't matter, because it's actually got me closer to where my goal is, because it's far more likely that the 10 tomorrow will than, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it makes complete sense. And to, really bring it full circle, it's that if you don't, and you're not willing to go out there and do it, you don't learn the lessons to be successful. And one of the things you said is you didn't know the business before, so you've had to learn it as you go. And part of that learning process over the 4 years is actually going out there and you doing it and making the relationships with the retailers and the bars and the restaurants and the wholesalers or distributors. And so there's no one else that does it, but you didn't have that knowledge when you started the kombucha company. It's something you've had to learn along the way.
Yeah.
And along the way, there's been, 10 out of 10 sometimes that say no, but every once in a while you learn from it and you learn what's successful and you get 1 out of 10.
Yeah. And I guess it's probably a trait of most entrepreneurs is, like, I've always really wanted to learn. It's, if anyone talks to me about business, whether it's the local cafe or some guy that, I have a mate who had a very successful business in Australia, and I talk to him and I just pick his brain, and if he has something to say about my business, I listen, because this guy started out he built a fiberglass water tank in his backyard in Queensland in the 80s, and it became this multi-million-dollar tank business, and he showed me his photo album of it, mate, literally from back in his backyard building this tank to like a massive, massive business. And I remember he used to say to me, "Oh, mate, I had some sleepless nights," and I used to think, what, he must have been up all night thinking about his business. And now that I have him and I'm actually, around there bottling until 6 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
it makes sense to me. Oh, he was actually working all night. And then his wife tells me, she used to go around there at midnight and take him a cup of coffee and some food. And
yeah, and I think not many people realize that the sleepless night thing is, I've had many of them, and it's not me up thinking about something most of the time. I mean, every once in a while I'll wake up and can't sleep because I got something on my mind, but a majority of the time that I have a sleepless night, it's because something else happened during my day, or I've got to turn in something for a deadline or a bid, or a customer has an issue that needs to be worked through, and, you're there and working many, many hours to get it done. And that is what being an entrepreneur is that time. And so I just want to debunk that little saying, because I'm glad you said it. We haven't talked about it on this podcast at all up to this point, that sleepless nights aren't laying in your bed sleepless most of the time. It's usually I've got something I got to get done, and there's no one else that's going to do it except for me. And, and the buck, as they say, the buck stops with me, because I'm the one who has to get it done. And if I don't get it done, I'm the only one responsible for it failing because I didn't do it. And I have a personality like you that I want to keep learning, but I also have the personality I don't want to fail, if I don't have to. And, I'll do everything I can, and that includes sacrificing sleep to get it done. And even sometimes I'm like, okay, I promised my family I would spend time with them for 8 hours, so I will go that 8 hours during the day knowing I'm going to have to be up at night and work longer while everyone's in bed sleeping, but I wouldn't give up that time with them for the world. So on one side, I would say that I could have not had a sleepless night sometimes, but it's a personal preference for me. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it because I know it has to be done. And at the end of the day, if I didn't succeed or I didn't get something, it would have been because I fell short and didn't stay up. So I do like that you said that, but I want to continue where you were saying, because I sort of jumped in on the conversation, and you started talking about being up all night and what happened. So, and doing bottles. I mean, is there a lot of that in your business? Where you're really having to put forward, or is it something that's now being limited now that you've hired someone that's working?
Like I said yesterday, he came around and bottled with me for 12 hours. And, I mean, probably in the last 2 months, mate, it's pretty much a weekly thing. I'd be up all night. I'd work, it's not unusual for me to just work 18, 20 hours just in the last couple of months. And I remember I did one one day last year where I got up at midnight and I drove to Sydney and then installed machines and did stuff and literally finished at 9 o'clock that night. And I thought that was extraordinary. But a few weeks ago I did like 18 and a half hours and then the following week I did like 21 hours or something. Like it was just like I literally started at 11 o'clock in the morning and I had a few issues and then I finished at 8 o'clock the following morning. And that's literally, I think the chick I'm seeing like bought out some food for me in the middle of the night. And I said to Benny, the guy who's working with me, it was last week or the week before, I'd been out all day like putting new wraps on kegerators and it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I messaged him, I said, mate, I'm going to go back and bottle, right? If you want to, you can come around. He'd been working all day at the Backpackers. So at 6 o'clock we started and he left at 1 in the morning and then I finished at like 2:30 in the morning. But it's for me, it's awesome to find someone who's willing to do that because I think I said earlier, it's easy. It's not easy, but it's a lot more motivating for me to be stuck doing that and know that I'm building my business or making money than someone else. So, but it's just, once you get into it, you just do it, mate. As you know, it's just you just do what you got to do, whether it's to have time with your family or just know that you got to get stock out or so that you can have a sleep in tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to just say something. I mean, one of the things we had another entrepreneur said on the program is that we're willing to work 80 hours instead of working 40 hours for someone else. I think that's, exactly what we're saying. But the other part is there's so much more satisfaction in getting things done. And when you work those long hours knowing you did it and it's benefiting you and the business that you're trying to build, there's a lot more there than just a financial benefit. I think a lot of it has to do with how amazing the experience is in general. So that's pretty cool.
And I think, Justin, it's interesting because I reflect now back on that sort of first and second year, and I was still doing it at home, and I'd bottle like half the amount, and it'd take me like 10 or 11 hours, and I remember finishing up, and how good it felt to that sense of satisfaction. And I think it's like anything in life. You can't expect I'm going to leave a job as a 9 to 5 job and then all of a sudden have it in you to be able to go and do some monotonous task for 15, 20 hours. Or exercise, you have to build up to it somehow. But yeah, like you say, once you get to that, once you finish it, it's pretty satisfying knowing that it took a fair bit of motivation and perseverance and determination and all the rest of it, and you're building your own thing.
Yeah, and I think it's so amazingly important that we understand that is a big difference between entrepreneurs and everyone else. There's people out there that are happy just the 9 to 5 job, as we would say, and or 8:30 to 5 or whatever your time is. But the thing is a lot of people just see that an entrepreneur works for themselves or that they control their own destiny or they've had success financially. But what they don't see is the amount of time that is actually put into doing it. And it's a choice, and not everyone is built that way. I can name a lot of people that I know and friends and family members that they don't want to work. They want to leave. At the end of the day, when 5:30 hits, they turn off the work switch and they turn on the family switch. And there's a clear line. That's not the life we live as entrepreneurs. It's that business travels with you wherever you go 24/7. And it takes a lot more to balance it. And then in a lot of ways, we involve the people around us because that time as an entrepreneur or whatever we're doing, that's the time we get with people is during the business. I mean, I grew up that way. My family was entrepreneurial, and time spent together often was doing stuff like that. So it came a little second nature to me. Actually, I had a little bit of a shock value when I went to university, is that not everyone had that same mentality of working for yourself and putting in the extra time and working together. I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? And even though I had friends and stuff that didn't grow up that way in high school and middle school and stuff like that and grammar school, it was still a little bit like, wait a second, like, why, I don't understand. Why don't you want to work harder, or why don't you want to perform better in your jobs and things like that? So it's different, and I've enjoyed talking to you for sure in your experience, and I got to figure out how I can convince Deborah and my kid or my stepkids to fly to Australia. It is something we want to do, and we'll come visit you guys for sure. Maybe now that I've done
Definitely,
a podcast, we'll say that we have to try the kombucha. And Tom, I do really want to continue to tell your story and hear how Queensland is going and the expansion and how the bars and restaurants go. So I would love to get you back on the show over the next year and continue to tell your story, if that's okay with you.
For sure, mate. Yeah, no, I'd love to. I the development application actually got approved last Friday for in our town here. There's going to be my brewery and a beer brewery being built.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's pretty exciting times, and the guy that's building the beer brewery, you may even want to talk to him or the developer at some point, because he makes amazing beer, and so that's all happening in the next sort of 4 to 5 months. We hope to be in there, and it's that's pretty exciting for us and the whole town, so.
Well, and since I'm in control of the time on the podcast and I get to run it as the entrepreneur of it, I'm actually curious about it. And one is I'd love if you passed on the brewery guy's name and information to him. Sure. Mine, you're welcome to pass it out, and I'd love to talk to him as well. But is it something that the developer came to you to do, or is it something you went to them, or is he's trying to bring a brewery and the kombucha into one location? I'm sort of interested in what's going on there. And if you don't want to say now, we want to leave it as a cliffhanger for next time, I understand. But if you wanted to wait. But so what made you decide to get into what we would say brick and mortar versus just the distribution and production of the kombucha? It is exciting.
Well, it's really my brewery is really only a production facility, so it's more upgrading what I'm currently doing. But the guy who's bought the block, he was helping me with my business. He was quite successful in tech and data business, so he's actually moved down from Brisbane to basically get away from the corporate world, and he's done quite well. And he's decided he was actually drinking my kombucha and he was spending so much money on it that I met him through the beer brewer, and he was like, mate, how do I get this on tap at home? And so we got talking, and so he has it on tap at home and he loves it. And then he really loves my mate's beer as well. And then, I'm not sure of the whole full story about how it all sort of happened, but basically he started helping with my business, bought this block of land, going to build a brewery there. Oh, hang on, why don't you build your new facility on the land? And so it sort of evolved from there. But yeah, mate, next time there's going to be so much happening with it, as it obviously once it gets built, and obviously there's going to be some frustrating times in the next few months as that all happens. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you again about how things have progressed and how that all happens.
Yeah, it's so exciting, actually, and to have that type of growth and type of opportunity. And I've really enjoyed talking to you. So the audience knows I'm in California right now, and so the time difference to Australia is about 17 hours. So trying to coordinate a call and all that, I got a real taste of business again on an international level, just trying to coordinate the time alone and make sure we both had it correct. And we did it all through technology, which is kind of incredible, all through direct message on Instagram, which, is quite the tool these days. So But Tom, I really wanted to thank you. I mean, I'm so grateful that you took the time, and especially since you're in Australia, just to believe in what we're doing and come be on the podcast to share your story. And I want, gut instinct and kombucha. I love the name for sure, and I'm hoping again to get to Australia to try it. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time for sure and working through all the technological barriers we've had to face.
Mate, I really appreciate your time and chatting, and to learn more about you and what you're up to. It's awesome for me. I mean, yeah, and obviously figuring out the time so it works for both of us. But you're more than welcome, mate. Come down. I'll look after you, and yeah, it'd be awesome. And I know it's a long way to the States. I've never actually been yet, so
yeah. But, well, if you ever make your way up here, we'll take care of you too. Colorado's probably not the place you would go, but maybe if you like skiing and mountains and outdoors, it is the place for you. There's a lot of fun we have here, and we certainly enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, I've heard it's a beautiful part of the world. So
yeah, it is, and I like it. And I want to just, all the audience, I mean, if here's, Tom's taking his time to be on the podcast, and I'm taking my time to do it all. What we really are just looking for is if you like and you're learning from what we're saying, just share it with someone. That's all we ask. We're not asking for anything in return or even a pat on the back. I think we're just helping other entrepreneurs and giving away knowledge so people can grow, because as we discussed on the podcast, it's hard knocks, and if we can learn from other people to make those hard knocks hurt a little less, I think it's so important. And there's so many business people out there like Tom around the world that are entrepreneurs and have a different view of life and work ethic and things like that I think we're really on the verge of changing the world. So if you really like what we're doing and you like Tom's episode, 1, obviously go to Australia and try his kombucha. But 2, share the episode and share what we're doing here on the podcast, because I think it's so important. And again, I'm so grateful for all the entrepreneurs like you, Tom, that have been on here and taken the time. It's an amazing thing, and it's a beautiful thing that we're actually getting some international companies that want to come on here and share their story and believe what we're doing as well. And I like it because food and beverage is sort of how we bond. And I know when Deborah and I travel the world, we meet a lot of people through just going out and eat and experiencing food and beverages and, and meeting people. So it's so cool to do it on this level. And now when we get to travel, sort of have a destination, if I go to Australia, I'd probably go to Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne. But now I'm like, okay, I need to go find this kombucha, go find you and see what the town is like, and maybe even come visit that brewery when it's done, because I'm just curious, and it gives a sort of different twist on travel for sure. So,
mate, if you come to Australia, you've got to come to Woolgoolga. Seriously, I'm sitting at the beach right now, mate, and it's a beautiful part of the world. You would be doing yourself a disservice if you only went to Brisbane or Sydney. I assure you.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that, because Deborah and I are the people that when someone offers us to go somewhere, we're on a plane. The benefit of traveling as much as we do is we have lots of mileage to travel. So you might end up seeing with us when people offer us, we're like, you just be careful, because when people offer us, we are the ones who take you up on it. If it's not now, it'll definitely be in the next few years. So
I'm serious.
And my birthday's coming up this winter, and Deborah's been asking me what I want for my birthday and trip. So, Australia, it's summer there when it's winter here, so that would be pretty awesome to go there next winter. So you may be seeing me next December and January.
For sure, mate. You are more than welcome. You just let me know, and I'll teach you how to surf if you want, even though I don't get much time to do that, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I love surfing, so any way I can and get out there and do it. I actually grew up on the East Coast, so in Maryland and around the water, and grew up around the beach my whole life. So Colorado's a little bit different. There's no ocean here, and it's mountains, so I've had other activities I'm interested in, but I would love to go and definitely come visit. And thank you again, Tom. And I can't tell you how appreciative I am again. I keep saying it, but it really means a lot to me that you took the time to get on here and conversate with us and tell us your story.
No, I appreciate it, mate. It's nice that someone's interested, and I'm keen to learn more about you and what you do, and what you're doing some pretty amazing things over there. So it's it's good to talk to like-minded people that are trying to do good things in the world, and obviously hopefully make a bit of money to enjoy life along the way, because that's what we're here for, to enjoy it. But if we can have an impact and help others, live a healthy life, and hopefully be good to the environment along the way, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's what we're here to do, and I think there's a whole thing going on with entrepreneurs like us, particularly in food and beverage, that we're able to really help the world, and everyone needs to eat and drink, and we can live healthier lives, but we also can take care of the environment around us and the people around us doing it, and just become a better place and a better planet, and leave the world a better place than we found it, for sure. So
yeah, that's it, mate.
Well, thank you again. And thank you to the audience for listening in. This is Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs podcast. On social media, you can find us at Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs. And if you want to be on the podcast, email me. It's justin.bizzarro@gmail.com. That's BIZZARRO@gmail. And everyone have a great day. And again, please share it. Please share it with your family. Please share it with your friends. Thank you.